Welcome back. In this video, we are going to take care of our winning UI, and we're going to keep it super simple for now. Basically, we're just going to display a text saying you won. And in order to add a text to our canvas, we can just right click into our canvas and then go to UI and select text here. And you see here, there's the new text that appears. We can also go over to the scene, click on the canvas, and then we can see our new text. So this new text will be our you win. Okay, so the text should say something like you win, or you won, maybe even you won, something like that. Okay, let me center this text by scrolling down here in my text here, scroll down and then change the alignment to center, both horizontally as well as vertically. Okay, so these are basically just alignments. Align the text towards the left or center or right. And you can see it a little better if we change the font size to something like 25 or maybe even 40. But if we do 40 here, for example, then the height of our text should also be bigger. So let's make it 50 so we have a little more space. And let's change the width also to 250 so that we can actually have space for our text. Because otherwise you will see the text will not appear except we change the overflow. So there is something called the horizontal overflow. You can add that and it will overflow even if it doesn't fit into the box which we created for it. Okay, you can test this by making the width super small. You can see now it shouldn't fit into this box of 50 times 50, but U1 still appears. So that is always something that you can play around with and test. Okay, so let's change the text here to something like winning UI, and then also scroll down a little bit to make sure that we change the color, because currently you can see the color is this grayish color, and you can click on it and then select the color that you like. So something super visible would be this pinkish color. Not very pretty in my opinion, but it's definitely functional in this case. Okay, so this will be the winning UI, which will appear once we won the game. So now scroll all the way up and click on this little box here, or this checkbox, in order to deactivate the winning UI. You can directly see that it turns gray over here in the canvas. This means that this UI element is deactivated, so it's not active in the scene at this time. We can activate it using our triggers, and a trigger would be once we click on the player. So that's something that we will do next. So let's go ahead and actually implement the functionality where we can click on the player and trigger an event. Therefore, click on your player and scroll down to add component. So here, I'm going to search for event trigger. So here, there's this event trigger that allows me to execute something once an event was triggered. So here you can add a new event type. So let me click on that. And you see there are a couple of options. So here, this event trigger is added to our player. So I could now select any of those event types, such as, for example, once I clicked on something, that would be either pointer down or pointer click. Basically, once I pressed the button onto my player, this event will be triggered. And you can see that this list is similar to what we have seen when we were working with buttons. Okay, so here in the buttons, you can see we also had this area in which we could then add elements to. So let's go over to our player. And now let's actually add something to this list by pressing this plus button. So you can see now the space event data will require an object that we can drag in and then influence with our UI. So therefore, I'm going to drag over my winning UI and add a little function to it. And here, what is it that I want to do with it? Do I want to change the text and enable it? Well, the thing is, the text itself is not the problem, but the actual game object is deactivated. So if we look at our winning UI, you can see that it's not the text component that is inactive, but it's actually here the entire item. So the entire winning UI text UI element, so to speak. So if you look at it, let's go over here. You see this piece here will be inactive if we change the component here. So we deactivate the text component, but that's not really what I want to do, because I want to deactivate the entire thing. So the UI will not be visible at all once I click this item here. You see, It's not just the text that is gone, it's the entire UI item. So I deactivate it by unchecking this box, and in the player, once this event pointer down is triggered, I want this to be reactivated. So I want the game object itself to be active again. So there is this option called set active bool. Bool basically is a value that can either be true or false. So I'm going to say set it to true. This will then activate my winning UI once this event is triggered. So if that would now work straight away, that would be too easy. So we can test it and click on our player and you see nothing happens. And that is because we're still required to add something. And in order to make this work, what we'll need to go to is to our main camera. So this game object main camera, and then add a component here. And the component that we need to add here is going to be physics raycaster. So not the 2D version, but the 3D version. So physics raycaster, select that item, and then you can see that it basically added this raycaster to our camera. A raycaster is basically a caster of rays, and a ray is basically a beam. So it's like a laser that beams to a certain spot. And in our case, it will beam where our mouse is. So if our mouse is on top of the player, it will beam or cast a ray to that spot where the mouse is, and it will cast it on our player in this case. And the player will be aware of this, and the player will then be clickable by us, so to speak. So once we click on the player, this raycast will be the case, as well as the player will receive the event, which was this event that we called, or that was called pointer down. Okay, so basically we're creating the pointer now with our physics raycaster here. And at this point, we can run the game once again and zoom in a little bit. Click on our player and you see we have won. So basically we have now triggered the event of our player, which was this event here, which says pointer down. So once the pointer was down, we triggered this event. Just to test this with another event type, let's select the pointer exit, for example. Okay, this pointer exit event will be triggered once our mouse is not on top of the player anymore. So that means that in this case, what we can do is we can deactivate the winning UI, for example. So let's just test it real quick and see if that's going to work. So click on it, you see you won is displayed, and we leave the player and you see this other base event data is executed. So this pointer exit is executed, which then deactivates our winning UI, which is this text that says you won. So let me click on it again. You see it's there. I leave the player, it's gone. It's there, it's gone. So that's basically how you can play around with those event triggers and can build this interactive functionality. So let me get rid of this pointer exit. By the way, in order to get rid of it, you can just press this minus. It will remove the selection from the list. Let me click on it. And I'm also going to get rid of the pointer exit entirely. So remove all events in this list and done. You could have also, of course, just deleted the event type entirely before getting rid of the individual item. But you can see here, you can add a bunch of different items here also. So you're not limited to just one item. You have a lot of flexibility and freedom here. Okay, so that is it for this video. So now you see how you can make the winning UI appear. Of course, you could make the winning UI a lot more pretty using different texts and using a button to play again, so basically to reset the entire state. But for now, let's just go over to the next step, where we're going to take care of adding the glass frame that will be displayed on the side of our maze or on the front of our maze so that it looks a little better. So see you in the next video.